We know that vitamin C and antioxidants are an essential part of a skincare routine for healthy aging. But how do we use them correctly to get the most out of them? We're going to go deep today. I'm going to share all the insider tips and tricks. So you've chosen the vitamin C serum. Now you want to build it into your morning time routine. Vitamin C is built for defense, all right? And that's largely because a retinoid will have taken center stage in our nighttime routine, because that's the time when our skin goes into repair mode. And that's because it knows it's safe. It's not being bombarded by UV, blue light, and pollution. So what happens is our chromosomes, they unwrap, and then we can go to town with our repair work safely. Daytime, on the other hand, is when our skin is bombarded with things like UV, like blue light, like pollution, especially if you live in a city like London. And that means you want to make sure you are doing your utmost to defend your skin. We have built-in antioxidants that come from our diet. There is no guarantee our body has the same agenda as we do, and oftentimes those essential vitamins get sent to other organs like our liver, like our brain, and our poor skin gets underserved. And that's why topping up on the surface just makes sense. Most vitamin C serums tend to be quite thin in texture, which means that they are best applied after cleansing, but before thicker steps like your moisturizer and your SPF. But be practical and use common sense. Apply from thin to thick. If you're applying multiple layers, be sure to allow each layer to dry fully. Takes no more than a couple of minutes before proceeding to the next layer so that everything builds up nicely. When it comes to where you should apply your vitamin C serum, use the 13 dot technique to make sure you get a nice even layer all over the face. Now, initially, just stick to the thicker areas like the forehead, the cheeks, and the chin. But with time, as your tolerance grows, be sure to use it around the eyes, on the neck, and even any leftover on the backs of the hands, all areas that are prone to getting more sun exposure and typically tend to be thinner. So these are areas where you really want to bolster your collagen production. When it comes to who will benefit from using vitamin C in their skincare routine, I would suggest that almost everyone can benefit if you're looking to future-proof your skin. The one exception is someone who's currently actively breaking out. This tends to be the group of people while I'm seeing patients in the clinic that I tend to say, let's park it, let's come back to it, because it is relevant to the tidy up phase when you're tackling hyperpigmentation and maybe even helping improve the appearance of scarring. But when you're actively breaking out, that precious morning slot becomes more focused on calming active breakouts with ingredients like benzoyl peroxide and salicylic acid. And those are ingredients I don't tend to use in conjunction with vitamin C. That's the first thing. I think they can tend to stack and increase the risk of irritancy. But secondly, vitamin C can sometimes cause breakouts in those who are susceptible. So I tend to put it to the side. We come back to it later. We've got a proper maintenance plan in place for acne prevention, and then it often serves a very good function. Now, speaking of which ingredients partner well with vitamin C, the first thing I would say is that classically vitamin C belongs in a routine to tackle healthy aging, all right? So that means you're usually combining it with the retinoid. And as I said earlier, retinoids get the limelight by having the nighttime spot, because that's our time for repair and regeneration. It makes sense to have our vitamin C in the morning because that's when we're going out into the world and really we're focused on defense. Vitamin C has the great ability to not only help prevent the signs of aging, but it helps us with collagen production in assembling those little triple helix structures to make our collagen nice and strong. And it helps improve evenness of skin tone by its inhibition of tyrosinase. So it'll work brilliantly with anything like azelaic acid, kojic acid, even hydroquinone. As with all actives, vitamin C, and especially the L-ascorbic acid form, which is probably the most active, but is also formulated at that low pH of 3.5, can be inherently quite irritating. So like any active, when you're introducing it into an existing active-based routine, go slow, use smaller amounts. Certainly don't attempt to go around the eyes or on the neck in the first instance. Do every other day, build up frequency, and see how you go. Perhaps the biggest challenge when it comes to vitamin C is actually choosing the right one for your skin type. There are lots and lots of different derivatives on the market currently, and some brands even have 4 or 5 vitamin C serums within their own range. So how do you navigate? How do you choose the right one for your skin type? So I think of vitamin C really as being those that are L-ascorbic acid and those that aren't. L-ascorbic acid is the active molecule in your skin. It is true vitamin C. It has lots of proven benefits, but also has some serious caveats. So it's the most well-researched form of vitamin C for obvious reasons, and has been proven to help with collagen, hyperpigmentation, preventing the signs of aging. But it is inherently very unstable and it's water soluble. Now, instability means that it can quickly degrade in the bottle if it's not correctly packaged. And the water solubility aspect means that it's really hard for it to get into our skin, which has this oily protective layer. One of the ways to ensure it does penetrate is to play with chemistry and formulate it at this low pH of 3.5, and that improves the ability of it to get into our skin. However, the problem is that that very low pH is considerably lower than our skin's natural pH, which is slightly acidic, but it's not that acidic. And that can lead to irritation, skin barrier issues, and it can even cause a flare-up of conditions like rosacea, perioral dermatitis, and potentially acne. This has led to a flourishing of the vitamin C derivative market as a consequence, where there's been lots of energy put into changing the molecule so that it's kind of wrapped in these other bits that allow it to be more stable and to penetrate better. And the idea is that once it gets into the skin, these accessory bits of the molecule come off, leaving L-ascorbic acid to do its L-ascorbic acid thing in the skin. I think the great takeaway from these new derivatives is that because they penetrate more effectively, potentially we need lower concentrations of those in our serums. That means less irritation potentially. And that greater stability really does mean that you're going to have a more effective product sitting on your bathroom shelf over time. Sensitivity has been a big issue for me on my vitamin C journey. I've really struggled to use L-ascorbic acid, which was a big impetus towards developing something that I felt was active. And this contains 7.5% THDA, tetrahexyl decyl ascorbate, and 7.5% ascorbyl glucoside, which is also found at a smaller percentage in Brightly serum. And for me, this is the perfect antidote to someone who wants vitamin C in their routine for all those beautiful anti-aging benefits, but doesn't want the sensitivity. And my redness simply couldn't cope with that pH 3.5 base serum. I also built in other active ingredients to help with skin barrier function, because I know there's lots of people like me who want that vitamin C goodness, but struggle with an irritable skin barrier too. Now, packaging is super important as well. In a way, vitamin C is a victim of its own success. Because it's an antioxidant, it is readily oxidized in our oxygen-rich environment. So it's important to look for packaging which is ideally airless, but also opaque, because it's easily broken down by visible and ultraviolet light. So if you're going to invest in vitamin C, make sure it's packaged correctly. Final note, make sure to keep an eye out for any change in color or separation that could suggest that it's now become oxidized and is not suitable for use. Perhaps the question that gets asked the most, maybe it's the most important, is how much you should invest when it comes to a vitamin C serum, because there are vastly differing price points out there. One of the things I think has happened is that brands have started to produce vitamin C serums with ever higher concentrations, and that drives up the price because some of the derivatives are actually quite expensive to formulate with. However, I think with vitamin C, more is not necessarily more, and you rarely need greater than 10 to 20%. In my opinion, 15% is something of the sweet spot that suits most skin types. So bear this strength in mind, think about what else is formulated with the vitamin C, and that should help guide you as to how much to spend. So I hope in the roundup of the practical aspects that concern vitamin C, I've answered all your questions. If I haven't, pop them in the comments down below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. But I think there are lots of good reasons as to why vitamin C is an essential part of your daytime routine. And I think it's a really easy one to build in a way that doesn't take up any time and will help deliver that bright, glowing skin that we all want. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Bye for now.